Ahoy hoy. Gavin here with my little, we haven't really quite got a name for it yet, travel walnut, half-size walnut. It's not walnut whip. Pecan. It's a small walnut, is it? Anyway, it's my little walnut guitar. If you've been following me on Instagram, see below in the comments on YouTube, I've been playing around making this for the last couple of months. What is it? Well, what it was Craig's offcuts. When I was at Crimson, Craig made an absolutely beautiful guitar out of a wonderful piece of walnut, and he was left with an offcut. I think it probably ended up in a bin. Or if not, I just pinched it. Sorry, and thank you. It's been sat in my garage for a while. One morning, I was having a cup of tea on my sofa just over there, watching the news, and thought, I need a table for my cup of tea. So I went out to the garage and saw what wood I had, and found that piece of walnut. I thought, ooh, this'll do. And after a while I thought, it's big enough actually for a guitar. So I started looking at what I had around the garage, what bits of scrap, pardon me, what bits of old spare nuts and tuners, and is there an old neck up there? Yes, there is. Right. Grabbed all my bits and thought, right, I'm going to make a full-scale, small travelling guitar, but with good balance, purely in my brain, because I thought this piece of walnut will look lovely. Now, it had lots of splinters and breaks, and this bit was falling off, and this bit sounded like it was rotten, and no matter, we can make a guitar out of this just the same. So, I have spent the last few months doing it with this. It has turned out to look rather beautiful. It's an odd shape, and I'll come to that in a bit. The inspiration came from the what was it, K45, this one here, which was a travel guitar which I found at the local dump. Great guitar, sounds super, looks beautiful, terrible balance. And the Tanglewood Electric Elf, which short scale, so it's as far up as the A on here in length. One of the very few guitars which I have written off as completely unsalvageable. Awful. So, full 25.5 scale length, one pickup, one control. What's good and bad about this? Let me go through the bad, because I decided once I'd started making it that this should be the one that I'm playing around with different methods, different ideas that I haven't tried before. If I get it wrong, it's a piece of scrap, doesn't matter. If I get it right, I've learnt something. If I get it wrong, I can learn not to do that again. So, things that were wrong. Do not buy cheap tuners. These cheap locking tuners are made out of a metal that is hitherto unknown to man, but it is incredibly soft. The threads strip out. They're horrible. So, it is worth spending money on tuners. The nut, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen I ordered a pre-cut nut, brass. It turned up, it was probably made out of the same plastic yellow coated odd metal that these are. It wasn't brass. It all flaked off as soon as I started trying to sand it, so I then just made a brass nut out of it. The bridge, nothing wrong with it, nothing right with it. It's not amazing. I would like to change some of the Allen screws here, because they're a bit high and a bit sharp on my hand. When I ordered these ferrules here for the neck, I decided to go gold, or bronze, or brass, or whatever you want to call it, to match the rest of the guitar. I'd previously drilled the holes based upon silver ones I had in stock. The brass ones turned up a completely different size, so there's cavities around there, unfortunately. I tried a different method of drilling through the ferrules for the string locks at the back. It didn't work. You can see that here, that they're not in line, and lots of timber got lost in my drilling process. So, use the right method, which is just drill pilot holes through from this side on the top E and low E, and measure up again to make sure they're in line. I had a lot of fun. As you may notice, there's no pick guard here, and there's no routing on the back at all. So the wire for this has come all the way through here, down here, and out here, which I had to sort of do fairly blind. It was awful, and I had to create all sorts of tools in order to thread the wires through, but in the end it worked. Output jack, even with this 45-degree angle, which I wanted to try because a friend and old colleague Sean is rather good at doing angles on his Walnut, and I thought, right, that looks really neat, I could do with a bit of that. Output jack works perfectly, fully recessed, well, almost fully recessed if I'd worked my angles out slightly better. Where the timber was rough and nasty, I over drilled it and over routed it in order to put in this rather beautiful two-part sparkly sky finish. I like it. I wish I'd done a bit more. I've got a magnetic well, it's brass, but brass isn't ferromagnetic, Gavin. How on earth did you get it to stay? Well, by putting magnets on the back of that, it works. It's not neat, and I know what I need to do next time in order to neaten it up. But that's covered, it's not going to come off unless you press the side in order to get it up, which is a lovely little trick. The timber itself is quite fragile. There's a few extra cracks that have appeared since I finished. The thing that I regret most about this is the finish. I wanted to experiment. So on the neck here, it was a maple eBay neck. Dyed it brown, which worked out alright, but then I sprayed it with a plastic lacquer. You know, the ones, Plasticoat or something like that, which I got from B&Q, local hardware store. Couple of coats of that. It's been 2 months and it still has that horrible feel to it. If I had more time, I would sand off this part of the neck here, re-dye it and use oil. Absolutely. I'm only going to be using oil on the necks from now on because this just showed me how awful it is. The other thing I used was True Oil on the body, True Oil Gunstock Oil, an American product which I'd read is excellent on Walnut. It's not an oil, it's a cross between a varnish, a shellac and an oil, so some of it gets absorbed into the timber, which is where you get that sort of, you can see some of the figuring coming through, which is quite nice. But the final finish of it is like shellac, so it scratches easily. How I put it on was like an oil, so there's lots of swirls in it. Another thing, if you look up on the close-ups of this, I shouldn't have used the paint dogs, is what I call them. They're little points to raise your body up when you're finishing it on here, because the timber was actually soft, as was the finish, and it scratched the body on both sides to hell. So that was a mistake. I should really sand it back down and get it there. But that's not what it's about. What it's really about is getting a comfortable guitar. And why do I suspect something has gone wrong here? So, I wanted a travel guitar that was balanced nicely. So, still head heavy on that leg. However, what about this leg? Still head heavy, not by much. So I like sitting like that with the guitar. It's nearly there, but not quite. I think the body probably needs to be about another inch long. What we wouldn't pay for another inch, eh? A bit more weight here. I was thinking about doing a recess in the back and just putting some lead weights in, but that seems counterintuitive. This was an experiment from start to finish. and I've learnt a lot. Maybe the next one ought to be a neck through. Maybe it ought to be a little bit longer in order to get the weight down. Maybe this bit here and this bit here need to be slightly larger in order to increase that weight. And I can certainly make these horns a bit longer. It's got nice access to the top, but more importantly, how does it sound? One of the other things that I regret and will change if I did this again was that I put this pickup too far down this way. There is more room up here, and I could have fitted a second pickup in quite happily. The volume is in exactly the right place for me. Delay. As usual, Fender Deluxe VM, everything's on midway. As you can see, clearly the output jack needs a little bit of a tighten. Quite a bit of a tighten. Actually, that's really aggravating. I'm going to tighten it now. Part 3. Okay, this should work. I'm very happy with this. In order to try and be super neat, I'd put the socket, the actual plug of the socket, all the way down, which meant that the wideness of this actual plug was too wide due to the screws of the socket to go in. So it wasn't a poor plug at all. It was bizarrely, looking at this, me trying to be neat, fouling things up. But more importantly, that's what I wanted. That precisely there. massive output from that pickup. Feels good, weight's just off. So there's two ways to remedy that, isn't there? I could actually move that arch a bit further up, which would work, or I could make this just a little bit longer. I think, as I've said before, probably an inch or so longer for the body would probably make it all right. Is this everything I dreamed it would be? No. By far no. What's wrong with it? The body timber was, and is, crumbly and falling apart. Looks good though, doesn't it? Did I want walnut and gold? Yes. Look at it. Looks great. Look, I've even got a bit of river epoxy stuff in it. The timber, however, you've got to check your timber before you start building with it. It's not the best quality. I knew that when I picked it up. It was in my scrap bin. Do I like eBay necks? They have one advantage, and one advantage only. They've been made. You don't have to make them. I haven't come across a neck that I've purchased yet, and I've purchased them from anything from £15 to £150. I've noticed no difference in between those two extremes. I think they're shocking. They're not the way I would make a neck. I think this neck's slightly twisted. I don't like the plastic coating on it that I tried, but as I said, it was an experiment. It's not the right profile for me. So I'm thinking, the great guitar build-off is starting again. Should I have another go with this? But from scratch and better. Tempting. How about a neck through version? Maybe. Two pickups, damn right. More controls, maybe. Quite like that one. Better bridge, yes. Better tuners, yes. Actual jumbo frets instead of what the hell this is. Got some interesting timbers outside I could play with. But for something that was made out of scrap, I've really enjoyed this. This is my sofa guitar, apart from the balance. So maybe I should try and go even further. What would you change about the body shape on this? The timber's perfect looking. Let me know. I think it's rather pretty, if not perfect. But who wants perfection? Actually, I do. Until next time, when my hair will probably be shorter, toodle pip, and take care.